roster. Let's move on. Let's go to the CM Punk situation. You and I talked about a week or so ago. What's the word on the street with this cat? What's the word on the street with this cat? Shoot, work. Where are we at?
I think it's a shoot. I mean, it's like I can't like we talked. I mean, I can't put it 100%.
Is it such a work that they're shooting and they're getting all of us? Because
I mean, it's possible, but I don't think so. I mean, because the one thing is he's been real frustrated for a long time, and I mean, he's told people, a lot of people that come July, when his contract's up, he's gone and he's not, he's gone and he's gone, and people were just saying like it's just. I mean, I had people telling me like the week before, it's like don't be surprised if he doesn't last, through July. I mean, he's very frustrated. Money, promises, the whole bit. I mean, it's funny because I actually wanted to ask you because when Lesnar left in 2004, I remember talking to you about that, and you mentioned to me like you were one of the few people who really could understand Lesnar because you were in. You were in the spot to carry the company, which he was put in. You were in spots where, injuries, frustrations, and the whole thing. And again, it's the same thing. You probably would have a better insight into this than anyone because the guy's all banged up. He's hurt.
Right.
And he, he's frustrated. I think he really, he was a guy I think he wanted to main event WrestleMania. I think he wanted to be the top guy. He got up to number 2. But never really reached number 1, and I think that there, on the heel side he did, but on the face side he was always number 2, and I think that there was just, he did the turn heel, he turned back, and there was just, I think he was frustrated working with Triple H. I mean, as far as, I don't see working with Triple H at WrestleMania as being a bad spot on the card. Actually, I see it as a guaranteed really good spot on the card.
Damn right.
But maybe from his perspective, it's like, well, if I'm leaving anyway, and they know I'm leaving, what do I get out of it? And it's like, well, I mean, you get a big payoff, you're in a highlight spot, but maybe he's in a different position mentally.
Man, I tell you
know,
what,
he hasn't talked to anyone, so I don't know exactly everything.
Yeah, and it's a funny thing because I was running down the road and going, working my ass off and living fast and everything like that. And I really thought that, WWE had thrown a few things at me to slow me down. This is my perception back then, on purpose to try to slow me down. But then, all of a sudden, I want to do the job for Brock in Atlanta. Just got finished working in Columbus, Georgia, with Flair in a cage and got that 411. And it just didn't sit well with me, and it was a bad booking decision. And I had a phone call with Vince, and I no-showed the show, and I went home for 6-8 months or whatever till Jim Ross sent me a card in the mail, and we started talking, and he put me and Vince back on the same page. That whole period of time I was gone, I didn't make one single dime. They stopped paying me. I was in breach of contract. I could do nothing. And I didn't give a shit because that's where I was at. Yeah. Obviously, that's where CM Punk is at. He don't give a flying shit. But because I've been there and did that, and certainly I can feel the way I felt back then. And now looking back, I say to CM Punk, hey, dude, just chill, get your head together, have that come to Jesus meeting with the old man, with Vince, get back on the same page, and just ride your contract out. Just go back to work, leave on good terms, continue to get your royalties in the coming years. If you want to ride off in the sunset, go do comedy, go do this, that, or just don't do anything. But, when you breach, you breach, and that cuts everything off.
Yeah.
And so I know he's looking, because he's looking at the small picture. And I don't fault him for that because I did the same thing. But because I've been there and did that, I say look at the big picture, collect your thoughts, get on the same page. And for some reason, I'm optimistic that they will, Dave. And I anticipate seeing him at WrestleMania 30. I cannot see WrestleMania 30 happen without him. Now, that being said, it will happen without him if he does not show. He will not stop the process. The machine always keeps rolling.
Yeah, well, it has to. Well, you bring up a good point, but you got to remember, his mentality is where yours was then, and not yours.
Correct.
10 years later, and the whole thing on that is you walked in there, and I mean I remember that when that whole thing went down, and it's like, you would cut a promo about creative, and I thought, this is me looking on the outside. When I heard, okay, now you're the thing with Lesnar, and it's like, wait a minute, this is a big pay-per-view match for about 9 months from now.
Right.
I mean, Lesnar was just getting started. He was getting hot, but he wasn't near the top. But they were feeding him people, and you were the ultimate you were the ultimate destination. That was the match that people should have wanted to see at really at probably WrestleMania the next year.
Yeah.
And, they went and wanted to do it on television, way, way early. So, I could see your frustration, but, looking back, you go, there's another way of looking at it. And, again, it's like there's a lot of money to be made by just finishing up your contract. And, he's not a big spender. He's made money and all that, but, you only have a short time frame to really make money that's going to, whatever you want to do in the rest of your life, but to make that kind of money, as an athlete, when you're 35, it's like you don't have that many years, and that's why, like, when guys are 35, 37, 40, and they walk out, and they're still kind of hot, I always think that, like, ride it out another 2 years, because after a couple more years, you're really not going to want to go out and do that schedule, and maybe physically can't anymore. So
stay in that machine, keep riding the publicity of it, and then, start dabbling and laying your hooks in. I mean, that's exactly what The Rock did when he segued into acting. He had a plan. That's what he ultimately wanted to do. I remember riding on the back of an airplane one time, and, we was after a run, and I said, hey, man, we're back here standing in the back having a drink, and I said, you heading home? He goes, no, I'm heading out to L.A. I've been working on some stuff out there. So he had the vision way back in the day that he was going to end up in Hollywood, and, boy, he has in a real big way. A lot of cats don't do that. They want to, just, I've got an interest in doing this now. I've got a gut full of wrestling, or I have some money in the bank. Well, man, keep riding the machine and put your hooks in other places, then start reeling that stuff in. When it's time to jump off the WWE wagon, it will be at the right time. Many cats and gals have been premature in jumping off.
And then a lot of them a year later change their mind.
Oh, yeah, and a lot of times it never is the same.
That's true too. But sometimes, and it's a weird thing. And then you also have the audience thing, because I'll give you an example. Batista, when he left, and he was, I think, 41 when he left, and he wanted to go into movies, and he was pretty hot when he left. He was the top heel in the company.
Sure.
Then he came back 4 years later, and I thought at the time, it's like, okay, this is the right time. He's been gone for a real long time. And the first week, the people went crazy for him. And now, he looks different. He's, who knows? And again, the jury's still out. I'm not saying that Batista's return isn't going to be successful, because he's been back for a week and we haven't even seen him in a regular match yet. And it was a lot of extenuating circumstances. People were mad at him for winning the Rumble, that they wanted somebody else to win and all that. But, the thing is when you leave and you're a top guy, and WrestleMania comes along and they're going like, we need a jolt. Punk, it is possible that Punk may come back and be the darling of everything, and his return may be a giant thing. At the same time, RVD came back after a couple of years. His return was a giant thing, and they really, and for reasons, RVD only gave him a 3-month commitment. It's like Jericho. Right. When he comes back, when you only give him a short commitment, they're not going to go that far with you. But RVD came back. The people were going crazy for him, but it did cool off pretty quick, because they cooled it off quick, because I think they didn't want him to get past a certain level, knowing that he was only under contract for a couple months.
Right, they want to dump too much money into him, knowing it's a short window.
Right.